Great, thanks, Dom. Hi, everyone. I've just, as you can see from the title, you probably think, well, why does someone want to go and study email when it's in our lives every single day? And it's been in our lives for the last sort of 20 years, or 20 or 30 years. The significance around this is that in my previous role as a nurse educator, and you're probably thinking, well, how does this fit into the acute sort of side of things in this part of the research? I was working as an educator in the emergency department for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm not in that role anymore, but what came about was some people were starting to miss opportunities because some of the information we sent out electronically, and people were coming to me, or one particular instance, a nurse came to me and said, Sally, I absolutely didn't get this information from you. And it's the way the person was using their email. And I thought, actually, there's a little bit of a gap here. What's actually going on, and why are people missing these opportunities when we're sending the information out, particularly when we're sending information out to a wide group of people? So that was really where the seed was planted. And so with this graph presents where our email is going. So, you know, there's 205 billion emails sent daily. That was a couple of years ago. And it's predicted to go up to about 230 billion daily emails worldwide by 2019. So that's why actually there's a little bit of significance around here. So for the last couple of years, I've done some study around the use of email within the organisation. Before I looked at how I was going to conduct the study, I looked at some literature to say, well, what's actually out there? What does, you know, we use this daily. Isn't it easy to use? Well, yes, but there's actually some other impacts around this as well. So the literature told me that training was a problem. There were, in fact, quite a lot of problems associated with email. Accessibility to computers, misinterpretation around the sent email, volume of messages as well, a few things to do with generational differences and just general attitudes and behaviours of people using this as well. So that kind of set an idea, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? How am I actually going to do some research around this? So my question was around, well, from all of that information I've got, do staff actually engage and value in email within the organisation as a tool to communicate? So I wanted to have a look at the staff views and experiences, what they valued about it, maybe what they didn't value about it as well, their perceived improvements to communication, whether or not that be email and or other, and also some ideas they may have for the future. So with those sort of things in mind, the paradigm I chose was around qualitative. And I really wanted to understand the human behaviours, and I wanted to get some real richness around this as well. And I was really only going to get that, I thought, through discussions. So the model that I chose was appreciative inquiry, and primarily around the discover and the dream cycle of appreciative inquiry. I wanted to know what was working well for people. What did come out of that was what wasn't working well for people as well, but I turned those around to improvements as opposed to problems or issues. What opportunities are there? What should be, which fits into the design part of it, and also what is the optimum outcome, so sort of that destiny. This study didn't go into really the design and destiny, but certainly featured on the discovery and a little bit of the dream. I got ethics approval from the University of Auckland and then site approval for counties. I'd recruited participants into focus groups. The invitations went out to allied health. Actually, a lot of the literature I got was around nursing, but I wanted to broaden that focus as well. Yeah, sure, it's nursing, but what else is going on in the organisation as well? So allied health, medicine, midwifery and nurses were invited to participate. I got the response of 30, or actually about 60 responses and 30 participated, and that was made up of just over 60% of nurses and 70% of nurses and 30% of allied health. So I conducted 3 focus groups initially, compared and contrasted the themes using thematic analysis, and then I did a 4th focus group based on those themes. that came through in the initial focus groups. The findings were that there were the 4 main themes around professional practice, the self-care of our workforce, workforce engagement, and shaping the future. So given the time frame of this presentation, I just thought I'd bring out just a few excerpts of what some of our participants were saying. So the first one was around professional practice and training. So one of our participants said, in an office where these bright young things who know everything about computers, they offer their help to Luddites like me who are having difficulty. So that's around peer-to-peer learning. However, literature talks about the most effective way is learning from experts. I'd say that some of our peer-to-peer learning, they are experts in systems as well. Some of our participants said that the training methods, they'd like to see more computer-based training and learning, where you can access it over 24 hours a day. One of the barriers around that was actually accessing training to improve their own skills. And the literature was looking at, they talk about a fluency tool to actually look at what do you know rather than what you don't know. The Tiger initiative is around identifying skills that are needed, and that's particularly useful in nursing. There's also a European computer driver's license, but that's more generalised. In terms of ethic and professionalism, this might resonate with some people out there as well. So how we construct a message, someone said it was across 3 to 4 emails that had become misconstrued. So it was like a comedy of errors. By the time you end up with your end product, it's a disaster. The subject line, in literature, they were talking about this has got to be really clear, and that's also to get engagement of those that you're sending messages out to. I quite like this one, with the use of colours, boldface, and particularly capital lettering. That's perceived as aggressive and bullying, but it's also noted as being, our participants said, it's also like the person is shouting at you. So I see a few nods of heads around the room. And people often, so another participant said, people often get upset about how many people can be copied into emails. Who you could CC and who you shouldn't. Communication can break down really easily with this as well. And this is also about on-forwarding those copied messages as well. It can become quite sensitive. This is, the boundary awareness was quite interesting. When do we know how to turn off and turn on, and what are our, how can we deal with this? So one person said, from a manager, I have people who work for me who seem to feel like they're always on call and they're really stressed. I'm saying to them, you need to turn your phone off. You need to rely on other people. It's just not healthy. This person had 3 weeks leave. They came back on Monday. They had no emails in their inbox because they'd already sorted them out. Are they resting when they're actually having that time off as well? And this one, I stressed out my whole holiday. In fact, I was going to abandon my annual leave and go back to work to put this report together because I knew there was no way I could do it on the first day. This person checked their emails right at the very beginning of their leave, and they wish they hadn't because it actually stressed them out that whole time of leave. So actually, what are we doing to ourselves? So Dale Kolb, who's a professor of connectivity at the University of Auckland, has created this around being a dynamic connector. So some people are underconnected or they're disengaged, others are hyper-connectors, and sometimes we can fall in between. But being a dynamic connector, knowing how to switch off from what we're doing, but then how to reconnect is probably a really important one, so I quite like his dynamic connector. Some people are saying, I'm really scared of the computer, I'm terrified of the computer, or they see the computer as an enemy. So these are some of the things that we want to reduce or eliminate, particularly around the fear associated with what we're doing, particularly with a lot of the technologies that are coming on board throughout the organisation. So in terms of recommendations that came out of this study is that first and foremost is to recognise email as legitimate work. I think there's still that thought out there that, I'll do it when I can because it's not part of my usual work. Manage I didn't touch on interruptions, but your emails pinging into your inbox all the time, there's ways to reduce that. I changed that in my own practice and it's made a world of difference. Review training and consider some of the other options that are out there based on what we already have. recommendation was to create an email etiquette and to encourage the dynamic connector, because this isn't going away. Thanks for your time. Thank you.